What happens when destiny chooses the weakest vessel? For Sarah Whitlock, life had always been measured in whispers and lowered eyes. An omega in the Silvercrest pack, the lowest rank, the forgotten rank, the rank that existed only to serve. She moved through the pack house like a ghost, carrying linens that smelled of lavender soap, scrubbing floors until her knees ached, always 3 steps behind anyone who mattered. Her scent, lavender, morning dew, and wildflowers, was so faint that stronger wolves barely registered her presence. That was the curse of an omega. Invisible, powerless, forgotten. But when the alpha's son chose her as his mate before the entire pack, only to reject her moments later in the most brutal ceremony their territory had ever witnessed, everything changed. And what happens next? No one was prepared for. The harvest moon ceremony came every autumn, when the pack gathered under the ancient oaks to witness matings, to celebrate bonds blessed by the moon goddess herself. Sarah had never imagined she'd stand in that sacred circle. Omegas didn't get chosen. They didn't get mate bonds. They certainly didn't get claimed by alphas. Yet there she stood, her worn dress replaced by ceremonial white, her dark hair braided with silver thread, as Alpha Cade Silvercrest gripped her wrist before 300 wolves. His scent, forest, embers, ozone, and steel overwhelmed her senses. Power radiated from him in waves. At 25, he was everything an alpha should be. Tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes like molten amber, and a jaw that could have been carved from granite. His father, the current alpha, watched from the high seat with approval. This was supposed to be Cade's ascension night. Choose a mate, seal the bond, take his father's place. The moon goddess has chosen, Cade announced, his voice carrying across the clearing, his thumb pressed against Sarah's pulse point. She felt it then, the bond, a golden thread unfurling between their souls, warm and ancient and utterly undeniable. The pack murmured. Confusion rippled through the crowd. An omega? Impossible. Sarah's wolf stirred within her for the first time in years, a sleepy consciousness that felt both foreign and familiar. Mate, it whispered. Ours. I, Cade Silvercrest, future alpha of this pack, claim... He stopped. His eyes met hers, and something cold slithered through his expression. Behind him, a woman stepped forward. Lissa Kane, the beta's daughter. Beautiful, cruel, ambitious. Her scent, cinnamon and iron, cut through the night air like a blade. Cade, Lissa purred, placing one elegant hand on his shoulder. You can't be serious. Time stopped. Cade's grip on Sarah's wrist tightened, then released. I reject this bond. The world tilted. What? Sarah breathed. I, Cade Silvercrest, reject you, Sarah Whitlock, as my mate. His voice was cold now, formal, each word a hammer blow. I will not bind myself to weakness. I will not shame this pack with an Omega Luna. The bond, that golden thread, began to fray. Sarah gasped as pain lanced through her chest. Not physical. Worse, soul deep. The moon goddess's gift was being torn apart by sheer will. Cade, please. She reached for him, but guards stepped forward. Marcus and Thorn, both betas, both sneering. You accept this rejection, Cade commanded, his alpha voice pressing down on her. Say it. Sarah's knees buckled. The bond was shredding, taking pieces of her with it. Her wolf howled in agony, a sound no one else could hear. Around them, the pack watched. Some looked away in pity. Others smiled. Lissa's grin was triumphant. Sarah clutched her chest. I accept. The bond snapped. The world exploded into white-hot agony. Sarah screamed, collapsing onto the ceremonial ground as fire consumed her from within. Every nerve ending blazed. Her wolf retreated deep inside, whimpering, broken. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't. "Get her out of here," Cade said flatly. "She has until dawn to leave pack territory." Marcus grabbed Sarah's arm, hauling her upright. She couldn't stand, couldn't see through the tears and pain. He dragged her through the crowd, and she heard the laughter. Sharp, cutting. "Did you really think? An Omega Luna? Pathetic." They threw her into the guest quarters, a small room that smelled of dust and disuse. The door slammed. Locked. Sarah curled on the floor, shaking, as phantom pain continued to tear through her. The bond was gone, but its absence felt like a wound that would never heal. Hours passed, maybe days. Time lost meaning. When she finally gathered the strength to move, to stumble to the pack house, she found her parents waiting. Thomas and Elena Whitlock. Her father, a low-ranking warrior. Her mother, a den mother. They looked at her with something between pity and disgust. "Papa," Sarah whispered, "help me, please. You need to leave." Her father's voice was flat. "You embarrassed us. You embarrassed the entire pack. Cade gave you until dawn. It's nearly midnight. Go." "Mama," her mother wouldn't meet her eyes. "We told you to know your place. We told you to stay invisible, but you had to." Elena's voice broke. "Just go, Sarah. Go far away." They closed the door. Sarah stood in the darkness, cold seeping into her bones. Around her, the pack house hummed with celebration. Cade had chosen Lissa minutes after the rejection. The ceremony had continued without pause. Inside, champagne flowed. Outside, Sarah had nothing. No bond, no family, no pack. She walked toward the northern border as snow began to fall. Late autumn snow, thick and heavy, coating the world in white. She wore only her ceremonial dress and a thin shawl. No coat, no supplies. The guards at the border watched her pass without a word. Beyond pack territory lay the forsaken wilds, miles of untamed forest, where rogues hunted and winter killed quickly. No wolf survived alone out there, especially not an Omega. Sarah walked anyway. The blizzard came fast and merciless. Within an hour, Sarah couldn't feel her feet. Her fingers had gone numb. The thin shawl offered no protection against wind that howled through the trees like a living thing. Snow piled higher, obscuring any path, any landmark. She stumbled forward because stopping meant dying, but forward had lost all meaning. Her wolf was silent, still wounded, still retreating from the bond's severing. "I'm going to die out here," Sarah thought distantly. This is how it ends. She should have felt afraid. Instead, she felt nothing. Just cold. Just tired. The pain in her chest had dulled to a constant ache, as if part of her soul had been carved out and discarded. Maybe this was mercy. She collapsed against a tree, sliding down into the snow. Her dress was soaked through. Ice crystals clung to her hair. She couldn't stop shaking. "Just rest," something whispered. "Just close your eyes." Sarah's eyes drifted shut. Time passed. She didn't know how much. The cold faded. The shaking stopped. She felt warm suddenly, which some distant part of her mind recognized as dangerous. Hypothermia's final trick. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Multiple. The crunch of snow under massive paws. Rogues, she thought hazily. Come to finish it. She didn't open her eyes. Didn't matter anymore. Hot breath ghosted across her face. A low rumble, almost a purr. Not threatening. Curious. Weight settled around her. Fur. Thick, impossibly warm fur. Then more. bodies pressing close on all sides, sharing heat, blocking the wind. Sarah's eyes fluttered open. Wolves. 1, 2, 3. She counted through the haze. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 massive wolves surrounded her, their bodies forming a living barrier against the storm. But these weren't normal wolves. Each stood nearly 5 feet at the shoulder, larger than any alpha she'd ever seen. Their fur was midnight black, silver-tipped, catching what little moonlight penetrated the blizzard. Eyes glowed in the darkness. Gold, ice blue, violet. One wolf, the largest, lay directly against her chest. His scent washed over her. Aged oak, winter snow, pine and storm. Ancient, powerful, safe. This can't be real, Sarah thought. I'm dying. This is a dream. But warmth was returning to her limbs. The shaking eased. The wolves breathed in unison, their hearts beating a steady rhythm that seemed to echo in her own chest. The largest wolf lifted his head, those violet eyes fixing on her. Intelligence gleamed there. Not animal, not entirely. "We've been waiting for you," a voice said. Sarah blinked. The wolf hadn't moved its mouth, but she'd heard the words as clearly as if they'd been spoken aloud. Deep, resonant. Male. "Who?" she whispered. "Sleep now," the voice said. "You're safe. We've got you." And despite everything, despite the rejection, the abandonment, the impossibility of 10 mythic wolves appearing in a blizzard to save her life, Sarah believed him. She slept. When she woke, sunlight streamed through cracks in weathered wood. She lay on a bed of furs in what appeared to be an abandoned barn. The structure was old, half collapsed, but the section she occupied was warm. A fire crackled nearby, and the scent of cooking meat made her stomach clench with sudden, desperate hunger. Sarah sat up slowly. Her dress had been replaced with soft leather pants and a wool tunic. Clean. Warm. Her hair had been dried and braided. "You're awake," she spun. A man stood by the fire, and Sarah's breath caught. He was tall, over 6.5 feet, with broad shoulders that strained against a simple black shirt. His hair was dark, shot through with silver at the temples, pulled back in a low tail. Scars crisscrossed his arms and throat, including one that ran from his left eye to his jaw. But it was his eyes that held her frozen. Violet, impossibly violet, ancient and knowing and utterly inhuman. His scent, aged oak, winter snow, pine, storm, confirmed what she already knew. "You," she breathed. "You're the wolf, the large one." "I am." He moved with predatory grace, crouching beside her and offering a plate of roasted venison. "My name is Theron. I lead the Shadow Guard." He gestured to the barn entrance, where 9 other figures stood. Men and women, all tall, all scarred, all radiating power that made the air thick. "We've been searching for you for a very long time, Sarah Whitlock." "How do you know my name?" "We know everything about you." Theron's expression softened. "Eat first, then we'll explain." Sarah took the plate with shaking hands. She was starving. The venison was perfectly cooked, seasoned with herbs she didn't recognize. She ate quickly, aware of 10 pairs of eyes watching her with something like reverence. When she finished, Theron sat across from her. "Do you know the prophecy of the matriarch?" Sarah shook her head. "It's old. Older than any pack currently standing. A children's rhyme, mostly forgotten." Theron's voice took on a rhythmic quality. "When the moon bleeds silver and the weak are cast down, the matriarch will rise. She will be born of sorrow and forged in rejection. She will carry the power of ancients, bound but never broken. She will come when the packs have forgotten their purpose, when alphas rule through fear instead of wisdom, and she will remake the world." Sarah stared. That's just a story," No. A woman stepped forward from the group. She was beautiful in a sharp, dangerous way, with white blonde hair and ice-blue eyes. Her scent, frost and steel, made Sarah think of winter itself. I'm Kira, second of the Shadow Guard. And that prophecy is why we exist. Another figure approached, a massive man with copper skin and golden eyes. His scent was summer heat and wildfire. I'm Ash, third of the Guard. We were created by the moon goddess herself 2,000 years ago to protect the matriarch when she finally emerged. Created, Sarah whispered. We're not normal wolves, Theron said quietly. We're the Unchained, the first wolves. We don't age. We don't die easily. We exist for one purpose, to find you and protect you until you claim your throne. Throne? I'm an Omega. I'm nobody. No. Theron's voice was firm. You're not an Omega. You never were. The barn fell silent. Your power was bound when you were an infant, Kira continued. Your parents did it. They were afraid. Afraid of what you might become. Afraid of the prophecy. Afraid of the responsibility. So they found a witch and had your wolf locked away behind a magical seal. The seal made you appear weak, made you invisible, made you Omega. Sarah's mind reeled. My parents, they knew? They knew. Ash's voice rumbled with barely contained anger. They chose fear over destiny, but the binding had a condition. It could only be broken by the most profound trauma, a soul-deep wound. Understanding crashed over Sarah like ice water. The rejection. Yes, Theron moved closer. When Cade severed the mate bond, the magical seal shattered. Your wolf is free now, Sarah. She's just confused, wounded. She's been locked away for 23 years. She needs time to wake fully. As if in response to her name, Sarah's wolf stirred. Not the pitiful, broken thing from the ceremony. This was different, stronger. She could feel it now, power coiling in her chest, warm and electric and vast. I don't understand, Sarah said. If all of this is true, why didn't the binding break before? I've been hurt before. I've suffered before. Because pain wasn't enough, Kira said softly. It had to be rejection. It had to be the soul wound of a broken mate bond. That's the only trauma deep enough to shatter divine magic. So, Cade. Sarah's voice trailed off. He made a mistake, Theron said, and his smile was sharp. He didn't just reject an Omega, he freed the most powerful wolf alive. Sarah's wolf surged forward, and this time she didn't retreat. This time she spoke. Mine, the voice echoed in Sarah's mind. Female, ancient, furious. They tried to cage me, lock me away, but I am free now. We are free now. She's waking, Theron said, his violet eyes widening. Everyone back. Give her space. The Shadow Guard retreated to the barn walls, but they didn't leave. They watched with expressions between awe and anticipation. Who are you? Sarah asked her wolf. I am you. You are me. I am Moira, the Fate Weaver, the Ancient One, the first and last. Power flooded through their shared consciousness. I've waited so long in the darkness, so long in chains, but the moon heard my howl, and the bonds breaking was my key. Sarah? Theron's voice was gentle. Let her out. Don't fight it. We're here to catch you. I don't know how, Sarah admitted. I've never shifted. The pack tried to teach me when I was 12, but nothing happened. They decided I was too weak, too broken. They stopped trying. Because you were bound. Kira knelt nearby, her scent washing over Sarah like cool comfort. But you're not bound anymore. Close your eyes. Feel for your wolf. She's right there. She's been waiting for this moment your entire life. Sarah closed her eyes. The barn faded. In her mind's eye, she saw a vast darkness, and at its center, a wolf. She was massive, beautiful. Her fur was pure white, edged with silver that seemed to glow with its own light. Her eyes were violet, the same shade as Theron's, but brighter, more intense, like twin stars. Power radiated from her in waves that made the darkness itself tremble. "Hello, sister," Moira said. "Ready to run?" "I don't know how." "Yes, you do. You've always known. They just made you forget." Moira padded forward, her movements liquid grace. "It doesn't hurt. Not for us. We don't break and remake. We flow. We transform. We become. Show me." And Moira did. The shift began not with pain, but with a wave of power that washed over Sarah like warm honey. She gasped as energy flooded every cell, every bone, every inch of skin. Her body began to change, but it wasn't the violent, agonizing process she'd seen other wolves endure. Her bones didn't snap. They flowed. She felt them lengthening, reshaping, finding new forms, as naturally as water, finding a new path. Her spine curved, vertebrae multiplying and shifting. Her jaw extended, teeth sharpening into points that gleamed like ivory daggers. Fur emerged, not painful, but tingling, almost pleasant. White and silver, thick and luxurious, spreading across her skin like morning frost across glass. She watched, mesmerized, as her hands transformed, fingers shortening, nails darkening and curving into claws. Pads forming on her palms. Her senses exploded. Suddenly she could smell everything. The age of the barnwood, the specific herbs Theron had used to cook, the individual scents of all 10 Shadow Guard members. She could hear their heartbeats, slow and steady, like drums in the distance. She could feel the earth beneath her, every pebble and root and shift of soil. But the most dramatic change was size. Sarah had always been small, 5'4", slender, easily overlooked. But as her transformation completed, she grew, and grew, and grew. When she finally stood on 4 legs, she towered over where she'd been sitting. The barn, which had seemed spacious, now felt cramped. She turned her massive head, and her shoulder brushed the support beam. The wood groaned. "Goddess," someone whispered. Sarah looked down. The Shadow Guard stared up at her with expressions of pure wonder. Even in their human forms, these were huge people. 6 feet, 6.5 feet tall, built like warriors. But her wolf form dwarfed them. She stood at least 7 feet at the shoulder, maybe 8. Her paws were the size of dinner plates. When she took a step, the entire barn shook. "Look," Moira said, guiding her attention to a broken mirror propped against the far wall. Sarah patted over carefully, mindful of her new size, and stared at her reflection. The wolf looking back was breathtaking. Her fur was pure white, edged with silver that seemed to emit a soft glow. Her eyes were violet, burning with inner fire. Around her neck, a pattern had emerged in the fur. Symbols that looked ancient, almost runic, forming a collar of silver light. Power rolled off her in visible waves, distorting the air like heat shimmer. She was magnificent. She was terrifying. She was everything they'd said she would be. "We are the matriarch," Moira said with deep satisfaction. "We are the first and the last. We are the beginning and the end." Sarah threw back her head and howled. The sound shattered the silence. It was no ordinary howl. It carried power, ancient and undeniable. The barn shook. Windows that had been closed for years burst open. Outside, birds exploded from trees, fleeing in panic. The very air seemed to vibrate with her voice. And in the distance, in pack territories miles away, alphas jerked to attention, their instincts screaming danger. When the howl faded, Sarah stood panting, energy still crackling across her fur. The shadow guard had dropped to one knee, heads bowed. "Matriarch," Theron said, his voice thick with emotion. "You are everything we dreamed you would be." Sarah shifted back, the transformation flowing in reverse, and found herself standing naked in the barn. Before she could feel embarrassed, Kira was there, wrapping her in a cloak. "That was extraordinary," Kira said, her ice-blue eyes bright. "Most wolves take years to achieve a smooth shift. You did it perfectly on your first try." "I felt it," Sarah said, still trembling with residual power. "I felt everything. The earth, the air, every heartbeat for miles. I felt—" She looked at the shadow guard. "I felt you. All of you. Like golden threads connecting us." "The guard bond," Ash explained, rising to his feet. "We're sworn to you, body and soul. You'll always know where we are, what we feel. And we'll know the same about you." "But I didn't do anything to—" "You didn't have to." Theron approached slowly, giving her space to adjust. "The bond formed the moment you shifted. It's part of the prophecy. The matriarch and her guard are one. We protect you. You lead us. Together, we're unbreakable." A younger man stepped forward from the group, maybe early 20s, with kind brown eyes and a scent like fresh rain. "I'm Finn, 10th of the guard, youngest, but I promise I pull my weight." He grinned. "That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and I've seen 2 millennia worth of amazing things." One by one, the others introduced themselves. Rowan, a quiet woman with red hair and the scent of autumn leaves. Marcus, not the beta who dragged her from the ceremony, a different Marcus, with his scarred hands and scent of iron and earth. Lyria with her musical voice and scent of summer jasmine. Dante, Raven, and Cade, 3 brothers, all massive, all deadly, all sworn to her service. "We're yours," Theron said when the introductions concluded. "We've waited 2,000 years for you, Sarah. We'll wait another 2,000 if we must. But we're here now, and we're not going anywhere." Sarah looked at them, these ancient, powerful beings who'd appeared in a blizzard to save her life, and felt something crack open in her chest. Not painful. Healing. Like a wound she hadn't known she carried finally beginning to close. "I don't know how to be what you think I am," she admitted. "I don't know how to be a matriarch or a queen, or whatever the prophecy says. Yesterday, I was an Omega. Today, I'm this." She gestured to herself. "I don't know what I'm doing." "None of us did in the beginning," Kira said gently. "Power is learned, Sarah. Confidence is built. But we have time." She smiled. "And we're very good teachers." "First things first," Theron said. "You need to learn control. Right now, your power is raw, untrained. You could accidentally hurt someone, or yourself, if you don't learn to manage it." "Accidentally hurt someone?" Sarah looked at her hands, which appeared normal again. "What do you mean?" Ash chuckled. "You're an empath now. You can feel emotions, manipulate them, even heal emotional wounds. But without control, you'll be overwhelmed every time you're near other wolves. Trust me, you don't want to experience a pack's collective feelings during a challenge fight. You can also heal physical wounds," Rowan added quietly. "The matriarch is both destroyer and healer, but healing takes energy. You need to learn how much to give without burning yourself out." "And there's the command," Dante said, his voice a deep rumble. "Your alpha voice is amplified 1,000-fold. If you tell someone to do something while channeling your power, they'll have no choice but to obey, even other alphas." Sarah's head spun. That's too much. I can't." You can. Theron placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, his scent grounding her. And you will. But not today. Today, you rest. You've been through trauma, awakened your wolf, and shifted for the first time. You're exhausted, even if you can't feel it yet. As if his words gave her permission, exhaustion crashed over Sarah like a wave. Her knees buckled. Theron caught her easily, lifting her as if she weighed nothing. "Sleep," he murmured. "We'll keep watch. We always keep watch." As Sarah's eyes drifted closed, she heard Moira's voice, soft and content. "We're home," her wolf said. Finally home. And for the first time in her life, Sarah believed it. The days bled into weeks, each one bringing new revelations, new skills, new strength. The barn became their sanctuary. Theron and his guard fortified the structure, patching holes, reinforcing walls, creating a space that felt safe and permanent. They hunted, cooked, and trained in the clearing outside. At night, they gathered around the fire and told stories. Ancient tales of the first wolves, of the moon goddess's bargain, of the prophecy they'd spent 2 millennia guarding. Sarah learned. She learned to shift at will, until the transformation became as natural as breathing. Her wolf form stopped feeling foreign and started feeling like home, like another version of herself that had always existed, just waiting to be acknowledged. She learned to control her empathic abilities. Kira worked with her for hours each day, teaching her to build mental shields, to filter out ambient emotions, to touch someone's feelings without being swept away by them. "Feel the anger," Kira instructed one morning, deliberately stirring up her own fury. "Don't absorb it. Acknowledge it. Observe it. Then let it pass through you like water." Sarah closed her eyes, extending her awareness toward Kira. She felt the rage, hot, bright, sharp as broken glass, and her first instinct was to pull back, to protect herself. But she stayed present, breathing through it, letting the emotion exist without letting it consume her. "Good," Kira said, and the anger vanished, replaced by warm approval. "Better, each time." Rowan taught her to heal. They started small, minor cuts, bruises, the ache of overworked muscles. Sarah learned to channel her energy, to visualize the body knitting itself back together, to know when to stop before she gave too much. "Healing is intimate," Rowan explained, her autumn leaf scent wrapping around them. "You're touching someone's life force. Always ask permission first. Always respect boundaries." Ash taught her to fight, not the brutal, vicious combat of pack challenges, but strategic, controlled defense. "You're powerful," he said, circling her in human form as she stood in wolf form. "But power without skill is just noise. You need to think, anticipate, adapt." He lunged. Sarah dodged, her massive body moving with surprising grace. She could easily overpower him. Her wolf form was twice his size. But that wasn't the point. The point was precision, control. "Better," Ash grinned, even as she gently pinned him with one paw. "See? Strength means nothing if you can't apply it correctly." Finn taught her joy. The youngest guard member seemed immune to the weight of destiny, approaching each day with infectious enthusiasm. "Come on," he said one afternoon, tugging her toward the forest. "You've been training nonstop for 2 weeks. You need to just run." And they did. They shifted together. His wolf, smaller than hers, but still massive by normal standards. His fur a rich chocolate brown, and ran through the forest for the pure pleasure of it. No training, no lessons, just speed and wind, and the earth flying beneath their paws. Sarah had never felt so free. The brothers, Dante, Raven, and Cade, taught her about pack dynamics, about leadership, about the difference between ruling through fear and ruling through respect. An alpha commands, Dante explained, his scar-crossed face serious. A matriarch inspires. People follow an alpha because they have to. They follow a matriarch because they choose to. How do I make them choose? Sarah asked. By seeing them, Raven said. By understanding their needs. By protecting the weak and checking the strong. By being what every alpha should be, but most aren't. Fair. Theron taught her about her power. The command. The alpha voice amplified beyond reason. Try it on me, he said one evening. They stood in the clearing, firelight casting dancing shadows. I don't want to force you to do anything, Sarah protested. You won't? Not really. Theron smiled. I'm sworn to you. Any command you give, I'd follow willingly. But you need to understand what this feels like, what it does. You need to know your own strength. Sarah hesitated, then took a breath. She reached for the power coiling in her chest, that vast electric energy that never quite settled. She let it rise, felt it fill her voice. Kneel. The word resonated. Power rolled out from her in a visible wave, and Theron dropped to one knee instantly, his head bowing. But there was no resentment in his scent, no anger, just acceptance. Reverence. Goddess, Sarah breathed, releasing the command. That's terrifying, Theron finished, rising smoothly. I know. But necessary. In the confrontation that's coming, you'll need that voice. You'll need to make wolves obey, because some of them won't listen to reason. The confrontation. They all knew it was coming. It was only a matter of time before someone from Silvercrest found her, before they realized she was alive. But as the weeks passed, and Sarah grew stronger, more confident, more skilled, more powerful, she found herself almost looking forward to it. Not for revenge. She didn't want revenge. For justice. For change. For the chance to ensure no one else suffered what she had. On the full moon of her 4th week with the Shadow Guard, they gathered in the clearing. All 11 of them, under the moon goddess's light. Sarah in the center, the guard forming a circle around her. You're ready, Theron said simply. Sarah looked at each of them, these people who'd become her family, in a way her blood family never had. Kira with her winter-sharp beauty. Ash with his summer fire. Rowan with her quiet strength. Finn with his irrepressible joy. Lyria, Marcus, the brothers. All of them watching her with absolute faith. I have a question, Sarah said. The prophecy talks about remaking the world. What does that mean? It means exactly what it sounds like, Kira replied. The pack system is broken. Alphas rule through brutality. Omegas are treated as less than nothing. The hierarchy is rigid and cruel. You're going to change that. How? By showing them a better way. Theron's violet eyes gleamed in the moonlight. By proving that power doesn't require cruelty. That strength can be gentle. That an Omega can become the most powerful wolf alive, and the world didn't end. It got better. They won't accept it easily, Dante warned. No, Sarah agreed. They won't. But I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of hiding. She looked up at the moon, feeling its light settle over her like a blessing. If they want to challenge the matriarch, let them come. Moira stirred within her, fierce and proud. Let them come indeed, sister. Let them see what they threw away. The next morning, everything changed. Finn returned from a patrol, his expression grim. We have company. 3 scouts from Silvercrest, about a mile east. They haven't seen us yet, but they're tracking something. Following a scent trail. Mine, Sarah said immediately. They're following my scent from the night of the rejection. They know you didn't die in the storm, Ash said, which means they're looking for me. Sarah's jaw tightened. Good. I'm tired of hiding. Sarah, Theron cautioned, if they see you, they'll report back to the pack. Every wolf in Silvercrest will come for you. Then let them come. Sarah stood, power crackling along her skin. I'm done running. I'm done being afraid. If Silvercrest wants to find the matriarch, they will. She smiled, sharp and dangerous. I just don't think they're going to like what they find. The Shadow Guard exchanged glances. Then, as one, they began to grin. Finally, Raven said, I thought we'd never get to the fun part. Sarah walked to the barn entrance, her found family falling into formation behind her. The sun was rising, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. She could smell the scouts now, forest and fear and curiosity. They were close. She stepped into the clearing and shifted. The transformation flowed like water, like breath, like coming home. Her massive white and silver wolf form emerged, power radiating from every inch of her. She threw back her head and howled. Not a challenge, not a threat. An announcement. I am here. I am alive. And I am done hiding. The howl echoed for miles, shaking trees and sending wildlife fleeing. And in Silvercrest territory, every wolf froze, their instincts screaming at them that something had changed, that something impossible had just been born. The scouts ran. Sarah could smell their terror as they bolted back toward Silvercrest. She didn't pursue, didn't need to. They'd deliver her message perfectly well on their own. How long? She asked Theron. Until they come? He considered. A day. Maybe less. Cade will mobilize every warrior he has. Good. Sarah shifted back, accepting the cloak Lyria offered. Let's prepare. They spent the day fortifying their position. Not to defend. Sarah had no intention of cowering in a barn, but to make a statement. The Shadow Guard moved with military precision, creating a clearing that looked deliberate, planned. This was territory. This was claimed land. And anyone entering would know they were being watched. As predicted, the Silvercrest wolves arrived just after sunset. 23 of them. Sarah counted from her position at the clearing center. 23 warriors in wolf form, all battle-ready, all radiating aggression. Cade led them. His amber eyes fixed on her with an expression between shock and fury. Lisa was there, too, her cinnamon and iron scent cutting through the evening air. The she-wolf stayed close to Cade's side, her lips pulled back in a snarl. The Shadow Guard stood behind Sarah, 10 figures in human form, arms crossed, utterly unconcerned by the numerical disadvantage. Theron was closest to her right, his violet eyes tracking every movement. Cade shifted first, his transformation rapid and aggressive. The others followed suit, 24 naked warriors standing in the fading light. None of them had bothered with modesty. This was a show of dominance. Sarah. Cade's voice was cold. You're alive. Did you hope I wasn't? Sarah kept her tone neutral. I hoped you'd followed orders and left for good. His eyes raked over her. And something flickered in his expression. Confusion. You look different. She did. 4 weeks of proper food, training, and freedom had transformed her. She stood taller, moved with confidence. Her eyes, which had once been a muddy brown, now held flecks of violet. Power. What are you doing here? Cade demanded. This is neutral territory. You have no claim to it. I'm making a claim. Sarah let her power rise, just enough to make the air shimmer. Several wolves stepped back involuntarily. This territory and everything 10 miles in every direction is mine now. I suggest you tell your father to update his maps. Cade's laugh was ugly. You? An Omega is claiming territory? He gestured to his warriors. I brought 23 wolves. You have 10. Do the math. I did. Sarah smiled. The math works in my favor. You're insane. Lisa pushed forward, her beautiful face twisted with contempt. You should have died in that storm, Omega. Would have saved everyone the trouble. Trouble? Sarah's eyes fixed on the beta's daughter. What trouble is that? Of putting you down permanently. Lisa's scent, cinnamon and iron and cruelty, intensified. You think you can just claim territory? You think you matter? You're nothing. You've always been nothing. A wave of power washed over the clearing, not from Sarah, from Theron. The massive warrior stepped forward, and every Silvercrest wolf's attention snapped to him. His scent, aged oak, winter snow, pine, storm, carried weight that made even Cade hesitate. Choose your next words carefully, Theron said quietly. You're speaking to the matriarch. Show respect or face consequences. Matriarch? Cade barked a laugh. What nonsense is this? No nonsense. Kira moved to Sarah's left, her frost and steel scent rolling out. The prophecy of the matriarch. Surely even Silvercrest remembers the old tales. Recognition flickered across several faces. Fear followed. That's just a story, one warrior stammered. Is it? Ash asked, moving to join the formation. When the moon bleeds silver and the weak are cast down, the matriarch will rise. She will be born of sorrow and forged in rejection. He smiled, showing teeth. Sound familiar? Cade's face had gone pale. You're saying Sarah is... I'm saying, Sarah interrupted, letting her power flare, that you made a mistake, Cade Silvercrest. You rejected me. You cast me out. You sent me into a storm to die. And in doing so, you broke the binding my parents placed on me when I was an infant. She took a step forward. 23 wolves tensed. I was never an Omega. My power was sealed, hidden away because my parents were afraid of the prophecy, afraid of what I might become. But when you severed our bond, the seal shattered. Another step. You didn't just reject an Omega, you freed the most powerful wolf alive. Prove it, Lissa snarled. Words mean nothing. If you're so powerful, show us. Very well. Sarah shifted. The transformation was instant, fluid, powerful. Her massive white and silver form emerged, towering over every wolf present. Power rolled off her in waves, making the very air distort. Her violet eyes burned with inner fire, and the runic symbols around her neck blazed like starlight. The Silvercrest wolves stumbled backward. Several dropped to their stomachs instinctively, whimpering. Even Cade looked shaken. But Lisa, foolish and ambitious, lunged. She shifted mid-leap, her she-wolf form aimed at Sarah's throat. Fast, aggressive, meant to kill. Sarah didn't even try hard. She moved with casual grace, one massive paw swatting Lissa out of the air. The beta's daughter hit the ground hard, rolling, dazed. Before she could rise, Sarah placed one paw on her chest, pinning her effortlessly. Say when, Moira purred. Say when we stop playing and start teaching. Sarah pressed down. Not enough to crush, just enough to make breathing difficult. Lisa struggled, panicking, but couldn't budge the weight. You called me nothing, Sarah said, her wolf voice resonating with power. You mocked me, laughed at me, celebrated my suffering. She leaned closer, her breath hot on Lissa's face. I could kill you right now. One bite, one snap, and no one here could stop me. Lissa's eyes were wide with terror, her scent sour with fear. But I won't, Sarah continued, because I'm not like you. I don't rule through fear. I don't need to prove my worth by destroying others. She lifted her paw, releasing the she-wolf. Leave my territory. Take your cruelty with you. And if I ever see you again, I won't be so generous." Lissa scrambled backward, shifting to human form, chest heaving. She looked to Cade for support, but the future alpha's attention was locked on Sarah. "You're not human," Cade whispered. "What are you?" Before Sarah could answer, the shadow guard shifted. 10 wolves emerged, and the clearing descended into chaos. They were enormous. Each stood 6 feet at the shoulder, dwarfing even the largest alpha. Their fur was midnight black, edged with silver, their eyes glowing gold, ice blue, violet. They moved as one, forming a protective semicircle behind Sarah. These weren't normal wolves. These were myths, legends, the original children of the moon goddess herself. "We are the Shadow Guard," Theron's voice resonated. "The Unchained, the first wolves. We have existed for 2,000 years, waiting for this moment. Waiting for her." "Impossible," someone breathed. "Very possible," Kira said, her massive form radiating cold that made frost form on the ground. "We are sworn to the matriarch. We protect her, we serve her, and we will destroy anyone who threatens her." Cade dropped to his knees. His warriors followed instantly. A wave of submission rippling through the group. Even Lissa, despite her hatred, couldn't fight the instinct. "Mercy," Cade said hoarsely. "Please, we didn't know. We didn't understand." "You didn't want to know." Sarah shifted back to human form, standing before the kneeling wolves. "You looked at an Omega and saw nothing. You looked at weakness and felt disgust. You rejected the moon goddess's gift because it didn't come in the package you expected." She walked among them, her bare feet silent on the forest floor. Her found family stood behind her, massive and protective. "I could kill you all," Sarah said conversationally. "It would be easy. Justice for the suffering you caused, for the cruelty you celebrated. But that's not who I am." She stopped in front of Cade. "You're going to go back to Silvercrest. You're going to tell your father what you saw here, and you're going to deliver my terms." "Terms?" Cade's voice shook. "The pack system changes. No more treating Omegas as worthless. No more rigid hierarchy based on birth rather than merit. No more cruelty disguised as strength." Sarah's eyes blazed. "I am the matriarch. I am the beginning of a new age, and every pack in these territories will adapt or face my judgment." "You can't enforce that," Lisa said, finding her courage again. "You're one wolf. We're thousands." "Am I?" Sarah smiled. "Theron, how many packs have you contacted?" 17 so far," the massive wolf replied, all interested, all ready to swear fealty to the matriarch once her power was proven. Sarah turned back to the Silvercrest wolves. 17 packs, thousands of wolves tired of the old ways, ready for change, and more join every day. So yes, Lysa, I can enforce it. The question is whether Silvercrest will adapt peacefully or be dragged into the new age by force. Silence fell. Then Cade bowed his head fully, exposing his throat in ultimate submission. "We'll deliver your terms," he said quietly. "But I have one question." He looked up, and Sarah saw genuine remorse in his eyes. "The mate bond. I rejected you. I caused you pain. His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. Truly sorry. Is there any chance?" "No." Sarah's voice was firm but not cruel. "You made your choice, Cade. You chose power over destiny, ambition over the moon goddess's gift. That bond is gone. It can't be rekindled." "I understand." Cade's shoulders slumped. "I deserve that." "You do," Sarah agreed. "But you can earn redemption. Not with me. That ship sailed. But with your pack. Be better. Lead better. Show Silvercrest that strength doesn't require cruelty." She stepped back, and the shadow guard parted, creating a clear path out of the clearing. "Go," she commanded, power resonating in her voice. "And remember this night. Remember that the matriarch is watching, and I won't be so forgiving next time." The Silvercrest wolves fled, Lissa and Cade at the rear. Sarah watched until they disappeared into the darkness, then shifted one final time. Her howl split the night, power and triumph and promise wrapped into one earth-shaking sound. Around her territory, in forests and mountains and valleys, wolves everywhere froze and listened. The matriarch had risen. The old age was ending, and nothing would ever be the same. And so, Sarah Whitlock's journey from rejected Omega to legendary matriarch reached its first conclusion. She stood in her claimed territory, surrounded by her shadow guard, no longer alone, no longer powerless, no longer forgotten. The lavender and wildflower scent that had once marked her as invisible now carried undeniable power. She had been cast out, left to die in a blizzard, rejected by her mate, and abandoned by her family. But from that suffering emerged something the Pax had forgotten could exist. A ruler who led with both strength and compassion, who proved that power didn't require cruelty, that the lowest could rise highest. 17 Pax had already sworn to her. More would follow. The old hierarchy, built on rigid brutality, was beginning to crack. And at the center of this revolution stood a white and silver wolf whose violet eyes promised both justice and mercy. Cade Silvercrest returned to his pack, changed, humbled, bearing terms he knew his father would struggle to accept. Lissa's ambition lay in ruins, and across the territories, whispers spread of the Omega, who became the most powerful wolf alive. But every ending is a beginning. As Sarah stood with Theron, her chosen mate, her guard commander, her anchor, and looked toward the horizon, she felt Moira stir within her. "The blood moon rises soon," her wolf said softly, "and with it, something ancient awakens." "What is it?" Sarah asked aloud. Theron followed her gaze, his violet eyes scanning the darkness. "I don't know, but we'll face it together. You, me, the guard. Whatever comes, we're ready." Sarah leaned into his warmth, breathing in his aged oak and winter snow scent, and allowed herself to believe him. She'd fought so hard to survive, to become, to rise. And there was still so much more ahead. Challenges, enemies, battles she couldn't yet imagine. But for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid. Because she was no longer an Omega. She was no longer alone. She was the matriarch's. And her story had only just begun. What did you think of Sarah's transformation? Could you imagine yourself in her place, facing rejection only to discover your true power? Drop a comment and let me know. I love hearing your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and share it with someone who loves powerful transformations and found family tales. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss the next chapter. Because Sarah's journey continues, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens when the blood moon rises and the ancient enemy she doesn't yet know about finally shows its face. Thank you for listening to this tale of rejection, power, and destiny. We'll see you in the next chapter, where the matriarch faces her greatest test yet. Until then, may the moon goddess guide your path.